Hey there. So today we are going to review how to add decimals. I'm going to show you 3 different strategies on how to add decimals. So here is the first problem. 5 6400ths plus 2 7000ths, also known as 5.64, 2.70. All right, so first I'm going to show you how to solve this by using the number bond strategy. So over here, I'm going to write out 5 6400ths and 2 7000ths or 7/10ths. I'm going to write it out horizontally. Okay. Then I'm going to break up one of these to make the other one a whole amount. So you want to think to yourself, well, which one would be easier to make a whole number? I think this one would be easier to make a whole number because I know that 70 plus 30 is 100. So I'm just going to take 30 from here and move it over here. So I'm going to split up the 6400ths into 3400ths and 3000ths because I can combine the 3000ths with the 7000ths, and that would create one whole. So this is 1 plus 2 would make this 3. So then I can just add it to this 5 3400ths. Well, 5 plus 3 is 8, and add that 3400ths onto that. Okay, so that's how you could use the number bond method. Now I'm going to show you how to use the algorithm method to solve. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you line up your decimals, because if you don't line them up correctly, you could come to an incorrect sum. So 5 6400ths plus 2 7000ths. And for the sake of clarity, we are going to do the same problem over here. So you should get the same answer. I just want to show you different ways to do this. So when you are adding using the algorithm, you always want to make sure you start from the furthest place to the right in case you need to regroup or carry, as your parents will know it. So first you're going to start over here. This is the hundredths place. I'm going to add 4 hundredths plus 0 hundredths, and I'm going to get 4 hundredths. I'm going to add 6 tenths plus 7 tenths. 6 plus 7 is 13 tenths. I'm going to keep 3 of those as tenths and regroup or carry one whole over here to the ones place. Then I'm going to add 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm going to bring down my decimal. So here you have a second way of making 8 3400ths. Okay. All right. And then for the third and final way is you can turn your decimals into fractions. So I write them out horizontally. So 5 6400ths plus 2 7000ths or 7/10ths. I'm going to turn these into fractions. So I know that whole numbers are whole numbers as fractions. So this 5 would be 5. And then 64, this is 64 in the hundreds place, so it would be 64 over 100 as a fraction. So this would be 5 and 64 over 100. Then I'm going to turn 2. 2 is still a whole number. And then 70 over 100. Okay, I have to make sure that they have the same denominator or else I cannot add them together. So they have the same denominator, which is why I didn't do 6 tenths and like 7000ths or 7/10ths or something like that, just because I want to make sure they have the same denominator so it's easier to add them together. So then I'm going to add my whole numbers. 5 plus 2 is 7. Then I'm going to add my fractions. So 64 plus 70. I know that 6 plus 7 is 13. So 64 plus 70 would be 134 hundredths. Okay. So then I'm just going to turn this back into a decimal. So since this is 134 over 100, those cancel each other out and those become a whole. That turns this into an 8. So I now have 8 34 hundredths, which then turn it back into a decimal is 8 34 hundredths, which should be the same as your other 2 ways. Okay, so those are 3 different ways to add decimals together. I personally prefer the algorithm just because when I'm adding money, a lot of times that's how I add it. But whichever way works for you is the way I want you to do it, and I want you to solve in the easiest way that works for you. Okay, let me know if you have any questions, and I will hopefully see you guys soon. Bye-bye.